All right, let's get into it. Today, we're cracking open the mind of a truly, well, frankly, a terrifying figure, the sovereign architect. We're going to take a look at their entire philosophical armory, piece by incredible piece.
I mean, just wrap your head around that for a second. We're not talking about being defeated or even killed. We're talking about being unmade, wiped from existence, just because they decided to stop thinking about you. That's the level of power we're talking about here. It's wild. So, that's the big question, right? What kind of philosophy, what kind of worldview could possibly fuel a being like this? Let's dig in and find out.
Okay, so this being, who also goes by the absolute I, has a pretty simple mission, if you can call it that. It's to collapse what they call the not I. And what's the not I? Oh, just everything. Objective reality, the laws of physics, you, me. If it isn't part of their own will, it's on the chopping block. And all of this is to prove that their consciousness is the only thing that's actually real. So, how do you even justify something like that? Well, it all comes down to a specific philosophical blueprint. You can almost think of it like the source code for their reality-breaking power. And this whole system, it's built on two core pillars, and we're about to break them down. First, you've got subjective idealism, which is basically the idea that reality is all in your head. Then you mix that with active nihilism, this relentless drive to destroy everything that exists just to make room for something new. You put those two together, and yeah, you get a seriously dangerous cocktail. Let's take a closer look at that first pillar, subjective idealism. For the architect, the world isn't someplace out there that we all happen to share. Nope. For them, it's just an extension of their own mind. It's their mental construct. And hey, if you're the one thinking it all up, you must have the right to change it, right? And that's where pillar number 2, active nihilism, really kicks in. Now, this isn't just mindless smashing for the fun of it. It's a very deliberate, willful process. The idea is you have to tear down the old system, the old rules, the old reality, to create a completely blank canvas, a canvas that only their will gets to paint on. So, and this is key, destruction isn't the goal. It's just step 1. Okay, so here's where it gets really wild. This is where these big, abstract ideas become actual, tangible weapons. We're not just talking about a philosophy anymore. This is a functional, world-breaking armory. So let's take a look at the inventory. First on the list is the Fichtian dagger. And I want you to forget everything you think you know about daggers. This thing isn't made of steel. It's more like a metaphysical scalpel, forged out of pure thought, pure intellectual intuition. And check out what this thing does. It doesn't cut your skin. It cuts your very sense of self. It severs that fundamental bond between you and the world, making it impossible to tell where you end and everything else begins. Your identity just dissolves. You get absorbed back into the background noise of reality, what the architect calls the not I. And that, right there, perfectly shows you its philosophical origin. The dagger is literally the act of asserting your I against everything that isn't you. It's a weapon that doesn't kill other people. It uncreates other selves. All right, let's move on to the next item in the armory because this all builds on itself. We've got the Nietzschean staff of the soothsayer. I mean, look at this thing. It's superimposing, crowned with that glowing orb called the Eye of the Great Noontide. And just like the dagger, it's not designed to break your body. It's designed to break your spirit. So this staff has two main functions. First, it radiates this gray light that causes something called the Great Weariness, basically a deep, soul-crushing exhaustion. But even worse, it can trap you in the eternal recurrence. That's a mental prison where you're forced to relive your absolute worst moments over and over and over until your will just completely shatters. So what's the symbolism here? Well, it's a declaration. The staff is basically the architect planting a flag and saying, the old rules, the old ideas of good and evil, they're done. It's announcing a new age, an age that's going to be defined by a new kind of being, the overman. And wrapping up the physical gear, we've got the mantle of the tarantula. Now, this isn't just some protective cloak. Oh no. It's a channel, a conduit for two very different, very scary forms of reality-bending magic. First, you've got shadow manipulation. This power literally takes an enemy's own inner darkness, all that hidden resentment and spite, and turns it into a physical weapon that attacks them. And then there's chaos energy. The architect doesn't call it evil. They call it pure potentiality. It's a force they use to just unwind the laws of physics, breaking reality down into a primordial soup where only their will is strong enough to create order. But, focusing just on the weapons and armor would be a huge mistake, because the architect's most devastating powers, they don't require any tools at all. They're brought into being by nothing more than the sheer force of their will. And this really breaks it down nicely. Take positing the void. This comes from the philosophical idea of positing something, which just means willing it to exist. Except here, the architect just posits nothingness where you stand. Poof! Then you've got the amor fati aura. Amor fati means a love of one's fate. This is a shield that doesn't just block an attack, it loves it. It takes all that damage and converts it right into more power for the architect. Insane. So, we've looked at the weapons, we've broken down the philosophy, we've seen the raw power, but honestly, the best way to really get what the architect is all about is to hear it in their own words. This pretty much sums up the entire worldview. Here it is. I do not destroy you because I hate you. I destroy you because you are a not I that dares to stand in the way of my becoming. Just let that sink in. There's no hatred there. No good versus evil. It's just a single absolute will that sees everything else in existence not as an enemy to be fought, but as a simple obstacle that needs to be removed for it to fully become itself. And that really brings us to the end of our inventory. So I'll just leave you with this one question to chew on. A will that's powerful enough to define all of reality, is that a creator? Or is it a destroyer? Or maybe, just maybe, they're the exact same thing.